how does Deshaun Watson play? And how does he play in Houston? How is the reception in Houston? I grew up down there. I know how the reception is going to be. It's not going to be friendly. So I think that this played out exactly as the NFL wanted it to play out. I think all along they would have been satisfied with 11 games. I think in some sense they wanted him to come back and play in this game. They will get ratings. They will get a lot of money out of this game. And neither team probably wanted this to be the game that Deshaun Watson came back to. I'm sure that the Browns would have preferred that game been in one of the games, the first 11 games as it worked out, or the first 6 games or whatever it was, so he didn't have to play in that particular game.
You've been hanging around me for too long. I'm not even willing to go that far, and let me explain. I'm not willing to give them enough credit to being able to pull this off, to be that strategic. I really don't think that was the case. I think it came down to something as simple as Deshaun Watson and the NFLPA were dug in at 10, the NFL was dug in at 12, and they eventually had to do this compromise, and then it was kind of like, oh, crap, we recognize his first game back is going to be at Houston. Well, at some point, he's going to play at Houston over the balance of his career. It's going to be a big deal when it happens. Let's go ahead and make first game back, which is going to be a big deal, coincide with first game back in Houston, which was always going to be a big deal. Let's just get it out of the way now. And I don't agree with the idea that they're going to slide this into 4:25 p.m. Eastern. They're opening themselves up for tremendous criticism, and I don't think they want to bask in that. They don't want to have ratings flowing from, hey, let's tune in to watch what a train wreck this will be. Let's tune in so we can hear what kind of chants are going to make it over the noise and through the microphones of the announcers. They don't, because every once in a while there will be a suggestion that the league flex into prime time. If there's a team that's going for 0-16 when the Browns were a few years ago, or if there's a game that decides the first overall pick in the draft, the NFL doesn't want games like that to have a big platform. I don't think that one's going to be moved to 4:25 p.m. Eastern unless the two teams are really, really good. Then it's unavoidable, and I don't expect both teams to be really, really good. I don't think the league went into any of this intending this outcome because I'm not willing to give them the credit to pull something like that off. I really do think they would have preferred, ideally, that it not happen. But
12 games.
But they're willing to deal with it because you work your way through it. You say, okay, yeah, he's going back to Houston at some point. We may as well just do it now and be done with it. Let's not get hung up on that. Let's just be done with it because they're dug in on 10. We're dug in on 12. We got to split the difference in the middle, or we just got to go ahead and suspend him for the full year and then walk into whatever federal court process they're going to drag us through. One last point, though. We made this yesterday, but I want to make sure everybody understands this. And I wrote about it last night. It actually could have been better for the Browns if he would have been suspended the whole year because then they would have had him under contract through 2027. Yeah. They would be paying him $1 million next year in salary instead of $46 million. They're getting him back at a point in the season when how much help is he going to be? It'll be 23 months since he last played in a regular season game. We don't know what their record's going to be. If they're 4-7, 5-6, how much difference is he going to make? Are they going to make it to the playoffs? Is it a lost season for the Browns? And it still counts as season 1 of his 5-year contract. So that's one thing where if the Browns were being honest, they'd say, we'd be better off just not having him at all this year.
Yeah, Mike, and I think that's exactly right because the Colts tried what the Browns are trying right now. They tried Jacoby Brissett. You remember he played 15 games in 2017 when Luck had the shoulder injury, and then in 2019 when Luck abruptly retired on August 24th of that preseason, then Jacoby Brissett played 15 games that season. He's 14-23 as a starter. This is not going to go well for the Browns. They have 5 playoff teams from last season, plus the Chargers, plus the Dolphins. So, I just don't think this is going to go well for the Browns when he comes back. Maybe since there's an extra wild card team, the third wild card team, maybe there's a chance they're still in contention for that third wild card team, but I don't even expect that to be the case. So at that point, I think you're just getting ready for 2023. You're letting him get some of the rust off him and get back into it, and then you get ready to come back in 2023. But this, to me, looks like a lost season for the Browns. So contract-wise, you're right, Mike. If he had not played this season, it would have been far better for the Browns. But then he sat out 2 years, and I just don't know how this is going to go. I will be interested when he comes back, how he plays at the end of the year. He looked terrible in that preseason game, and I don't know that the 5 attempts that he had really gets the rust out. And I don't know that you can do that in practice. And I don't know that you can do that in joint practices. I think it's something that you have to get out there and do. So that's how the end of the season is going to play out for the Browns. Is going to be trying to get that rust off of Deshaun Watson to get him ready for 2023.
He won't play again in the preseason. That's something Coach Kevin Stefanski said yesterday. Let me ask you this before we go to break, and we're way over, but what the hell? What's another couple minutes? Jimmy Garoppolo, I think there's no way that they would trade for him. The question becomes, if he's cut and he's available as a free agent who can be signed by anyone, would they be interested? I just think with Deshaun coming back, presumably, you know, I'm gonna revisit everything I've thought and said about Jimmy Garoppolo the past day or two, because my reaction was, it's only 11 games. You get through them with Jacoby Brissett, and you bring back Deshaun Watson for the stretch run. If the Browns are at all concerned that Deshaun's not going to be able to get back in, if there is any legitimate worry based upon what he said yesterday, maybe you are interested in Jimmy Garoppolo because you're thinking there's a chance we're not going to have Deshaun Watson this year. That's the great unresolved question as to whether or not he gets back in, as it relates to what we've been talking about, whether or not he shows true remorse, true contrition, true acceptance of responsibility. But, Charean, if he's out, it just changes the dynamic. If they know they're not going to have him for the whole year, then I think Garoppolo makes sense. If they're confident they're going to have him for 6 games, I don't know that you want to go down that path.
Well, and that's the thing, Mike. You feel like if you're the Browns that you have a really good team, that you have a chance to contend for a Super Bowl, but I don't know that they can do that with Jacoby Brissett. And even if you get Jimmy Garoppolo in there, how long is it going to take him to be ready? You remember the trade that they 49ers, when they traded for him, everybody kept saying, when are we going to see Jimmy? Well, he's learning the offense. Well, he's getting comfortable. You know, it's just going to take some time. And week after week after week went by before we finally saw Jimmy Garoppolo get in with the 49ers, and things went really well for the 49ers. I think they were 5-0 with Jimmy Garoppolo at the end of that season. So even if you get him in there, if you would make that trade next week, it's still a long time before he's going to be able to play. And by the time he's able to play, they hope that Deshaun Watson is close to coming back. I guess that's it, Mike. If there's any thought that maybe Deshaun Watson won't get back this year, then I think you make that trade, because I don't know that you have a chance to win a Super Bowl with Jacoby Brissett. And this is a really good team. I agree with them. I think it's a great team, but I don't think that they're going to win many games with Jacoby Brissett at quarterback.
And you know what? To the extent that there is lingering resentment toward the Browns for giving him the huge contract, and we know that owners were upset about it because they said so on the record, stunningly, because collusion is always rattling around in what the owners collectively do, there's value in keeping the Browns in the dark. There's value in not letting them know whether or not Deshaun Watson has jeopardized his ability to return for Week 13 at Houston and beyond. Because if they know, then they go get in the running for Jimmy Garoppolo, either via trade or signing him as a free agent. If they don't know, what do you do? So I think he will be kept. They will be kept. The Browns will be kept in the dark by the league, and we'll just have to see how this all plays out. And look, part of what let's be realistic. Part of what the league ultimately does with Deshaun Watson is going to be driven by the public reaction. We are just two voices. We don't really count all that much in the grand scheme of things. What are other people saying about this? Are other people waking up on Friday saying, this really doesn't sit well with me, that the guy supposedly was taking his medicine and then he spit it out of his mouth when the commissioner wasn't looking? I think that how others handle this, what others believe about this, how loudly fans complain about it, that's all going to be a factor in what the league does going forward, Charean, because we know That's always a factor in what the league does.
Yeah, they base all decisions on PR and money, and this is PR, and they want to know what the reaction is outside of the NFL. How are fans handling this? And I suspect, based on what I've seen on social media, that this doesn't sit well with anyone outside of Cleveland. Now, Browns fans have already accepted him. They're like Jimmy Haslam. They know that he's the future of the organization, and they're going to stick by him through thick or thin. And so that's the only place that you're seeing people support Deshaun Watson. Outside of that, outside of Cleveland, that group of Browns fans, you're not seeing that, Mike. And I do think that clearly plays to the NFL. They are going to listen to that over this next weeks, months, however long it is that we talk about Deshaun Watson, but they are going to be hearing that. And it will be interesting to see how this thing plays out once we get closer to that week 13 when he's supposed to come back, or maybe even when in October when he's supposed to come back to the team facility.
My prediction is that the subset of Browns fans who have periodically flashed anger at those in the media who have pointed out issues and problems, and again, they've been put in that position by their team. I feel badly for them, but I think that subset is going to become increasingly angry.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.